17. I'm going to explain this a little bit later on, but how many of you have seen the movie Rudy? Okay, a couple of you have. How many of you have not seen the movie Rudy? Okay. Well, those of you not seen it, do you know what the movie Rudy is about? It's about, it's about sports. Notre Dame football. Yeah, I'll explain that in just a little bit. But I see Rudy as the anti-Jacob. And I'll explain that in just a little bit. Look with me, if you would, starting in verse 17 of Genesis 31. We're going to read about Jacob fleeing from Laban. So Jacob arose and set his sons and his wives on camels. He drove away all his livestock and all his property that he had gained, the livestock in his possession that he had acquired in Paddan Aram, to go to the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. Verse 19. Laban had gone to shear sheep, and Rachel stole her father's household gods. And Jacob tricked Laban, the Aramean, by not telling that he intended to flee. And he fled with all that he had and arose and crossed the Euphrates and set his face towards the hill country of Gilead. When it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob had fled, he took his kinsmen with him and pursued him for 7 days and followed close after him into the hill country of Gilead. But God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream by night and said to him, "Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad." And Laban overtook Jacob, and now Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country. And Laban with his kinsmen pitched tents in the hill country of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done, that you have tricked me and driven away my daughters like captives of the sword? Why have you fled secretly and tricked me and did not tell me, so that I might have sent you away with mirth and songs and with tambourines and lyre? And why did you not permit me to kiss my sons and my daughters farewell? Now you have done foolishly. It is in my power to do you harm, but the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, 'Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad.' Now you have gone away because you have longed greatly for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods?" And Jacob answered and said to Laban, "And because I was afraid. For I thought that you would take your daughters from me by force. Anyone with whom you find your gods shall not live. In the presence of your kinsmen, point out what I have that is yours, and take it." Now Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent, and then into the tent of 2 female servants, but he did not find them. And he went out of Leah's tent and entered Rachel's. Now Rachel had taken the household gods and put them in the camel's saddle and sat on them. Laban felt all about the tent, but did not find them. And she said to her fathers, "Let my lord not be angry, that I cannot rise before you, for the way of a woman is upon me." So he searched, but did not find the household gods. Then Jacob became angry and berated Laban. Jacob said to Laban, "What is my offense? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? For you have felt through my goods, and you have found all your house. For you have felt through all my goods. What have you found of all your household goods? Set them before my kinsmen and your kinsmen, that we may decide between us two. For the 20 years I have been with you, your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, and I have not eaten rams of your flock. What was torn by wild beasts, did I not bring to you? I bore the loss of it myself. From my hand you required it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. There I was by day, the heat consumed me, and cold by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I have served you 14 years, for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock. And you have changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been on my side, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God saw my affliction and the labor of my hands and rebuked you last night. Then Laban answered and said to Jacob, the daughters are my daughters, and the children are my children, the flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. But what can I do this day for these my daughters and for their children whom they have borne? Verse 44. Come now, let us make a covenant, you and I. Let us be a witness between you and me. So Jacob took up a stone and set it up as a pillar. And Jacob said to his kinsmen, gather stones. And they took stones, and they made a heap, and they ate by the heap. Laban called it Jegar-Shahathua. But Jacob called it, Laban called it, but Jacob called it Gilead. Laban said, this heap is the witness between you and me today. Therefore, he named it Gilead and Mizpah, for he said, the Lord watch between you and me when we are out of one another's sight. If you oppress my daughters, or if you take wives beside my daughters, although no one is with us, see, God is witness between you and me. Then Laban said to Jacob, see this heap and the pillar, which I have set between you and me? This heap is a witness, and the pillar is a witness, that I will not pass over this heap to you, and you will not pass over this heap and this pillar to me to do harm. The God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. So Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. And Jacob offered a sacrifice in the hill country and called his kinsmen to eat bread. And they ate bread and spent the night in the hill country. Early in the morning, Laban arose and kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and blessed them. And Laban departed and returned home. Would you pray with me? Father, I do thank you just for the opportunity to study your word and for it to impact my heart and our hearts. Father, I pray the story of Jacob, the story of Rachael, the story of Laban and their lives would also instruct us about your will and your way. And I pray that, Father, tonight in Jesus' name. Amen. I mentioned about the movie called Rudy. Let me just give you a little background. And the reason why I say he's the anti-Jacob for a couple reasons. But Rudy was a young man who grew up in a household that revered Notre Dame football. His dad would watch it every week. And in the movie, what happens is that Rudy decides after graduating to try to go on, and his goal and his dream for his dad and his family is to play on the Notre Dame football team and to suit up. Well, of course, his grades are not as good enough to get into Notre Dame, so he spends a couple years struggling in I believe it was a college called Holy Cross, which is right across from the Notre Dame's campus. And he was doing everything he could to be involved in Notre Dame and got a job actually taking care of the field that Notre Dame plays on. If you've ever heard of Touchdown Jesus, that's where that comes from. There's a picture of, well, not a real picture of Jesus, but they call it Touchdown Jesus, behind a goalpost at one of those fields. But he was able to get on, eventually, to get into school and to try out for the Notre Dame football team. Now, you have to understand, he's about 5'10", 130 pounds, maybe 150 pounds. He's a small kid. But he has a tremendous conviction that this is what he wants to do with his life. All of his motivation, all of his desire, and all of his effort goes into making the Notre Dame football team. You see him getting killed after time and time again, guys that are 2 times the size, just blocking him out of the way. But he comes back for more. And he comes back for more. And he makes what is called the practice squad. You know what a practice squad is in football? It's a squad that helps the starters get ready for their opponents. In other words, the starters get to beat you up during the week so they can get ready for the people that they're going to play on Saturday. Well, he goes through and his convictions are growing, and he's becoming more aggressive as he's practicing with them, to the point that one of his friends says, "Cool it. You're making all of us look bad on the practice squad." Because he just doesn't give up. He gets beaten up, he gets pushed around, he gets shoved down, he gets right back up, he says he wants more. How many of you played football in high school? Okay, or junior high or sometime? Oh, Pam played football in high school, okay. Well, sometimes you have head-on, you basically get two guys down, you see who can push each other aside. You have different practice drills, and he's going gung-ho after everything because of his heart and his conviction that he wants to play one day and suit up and be on the field for Notre Dame football. One of the problems is they only suit up 60 people, and they have probably 90 people on the team. Well, after the first year, the coach, which is Rachael, tells him, yes, you can suit up for one game. And so he's all excited about that, but it's going to be his next year, his senior year. So he's excited about that. He tells his dad, and he's trying to get his dad there because he thinks this will make his dad's life. Well, the problem happened is, of course, in the movie, Rachael resigns, and Dan Devine comes in as the head coach and knows nothing of the promise that was made to Rudy. Well, I'm going to tell you the end of the story in just a little bit. But here's a man, a kid, who had conviction, who wanted to do things really the right way. And in our story with Jacob, here was a man who had almost no convictions, except he was going to do things the legal way. He was concerned with crossing his I's and, did I say that right? Crossing his T's and dotting his I's. I caught myself. And he was concerned about, as you read in this passage, that he had done nothing wrong against Laban. In fact, he goes and lists all of the things that he has done right by Laban. But there's a problem with that. And there's a problem with that for Christians. That if your convictions are just to get by with the letter of the law, you won't be pleasing to God. And the reason why I say that is you look in the New Testament, you see the vast majority of the Jews were concerned with the law, the letter of the law, but Jesus said that their hearts were far from Him. See, Jacob is one of God's chosen. And God is going to bless Jacob, but He's not going to bless Jacob because of his stellar spiritual state.